Hi, in this video, I'm really excited to share with you one of the fundamental tools that I use in my coaching practice. It has changed my life, and I know that it has the power to change your life as well. Now, how so? I know this because it is so empowering to understand that we have more control over our lives than we previously believed. Now, I don't know about you, but I was never taught how to think. I was taught what to think for sure, but I was never taught how to think. And as a result, I ended up with just a lot of recycled thoughts that I got from my parents or church or teachers or even my friends. And I just accepted them rather than actively deciding to believe them. So I didn't even know that managing my thoughts was an option. And as a result, I felt very much at the effect of what was going on around me. I really thought that my life was crazy and I needed wine in order to relax. What I've come to discover is that my thoughts about my life were crazy and those are the things that I can actually control. So the model is the framework that I'm talking about here, and we use it as a way to get some ownership over our lives, to gain some awareness to what's going on and get out of some of the socially programmed thought patterns. So let's talk here. I want to explain to you what are the 5 categories within the model. The first and foremost is the circumstances. These are the things that truly are outside of our control. This is like in every situation, there are circumstances. These are the people, places, things, time, temperature, whatever it is, anything that everyone can agree on. So again, these are outside of our control. So it could be things like traffic, it can be weather, it can be politics, in that different politicians are going to have different platforms. Now, we know that people don't agree on politics, but we can all agree on that everyone has a different platform, like what those platforms are. Or people. So maybe your mother-in-law. Now, everybody's going to have different thoughts about your mother-in-law, for example, but everybody can agree that you have a mother-in-law. You see the distinction? Those are all facts. The second line of the model are our thoughts. And this is how we interpret those circumstances. Okay, so this information goes into your brain and then you interpret it somehow. And those are your thoughts about it. It's so important because this is where we start our self-coaching. The third line of the model are our feelings. And this is the one-word description of the vibration you're feeling in your body. Okay, and they're created by your thoughts. And it's so important because these feelings really drive the actions that you take. So actions are our fourth line. And these are all the things that you do or you don't do because of how you're feeling. Now, if you're feeling overwhelmed, for example, a lot of times that leads to a lot of inaction because of that feeling. Versus when you're feeling motivated, you can get a lot of things done. There's a lot of action there. Our feelings are very important. So and then the action line is what we're doing. And then from the actions, we create results. So this is what comes out of the actions that we have taken. Okay, so those are the 5 lines in the model. I want to pause here and talk about a little bit of a distinction between the framework that we use called the model and some work that was done a number of years ago called The Secret. And there was a lot of hoopla around this, and because the thought was, or the idea behind it is that you can think about something that you want and you can manifest it. Just such a great idea, right? You like create a vision board and you can make it become a reality. That's fantastic. However, there needs to be some action. And so that's why the model is a little bit different. So we certainly believe that our thoughts and feelings are important because that's the fuel that drives the action. But that action line is a critical component of how we create results in our lives. It's not just about creating a Pinterest board and just sitting back and waiting for something to happen. You have to do some work in there too. So if your goal is to drink less, you can for sure create a Pinterest board. Nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. You can think about it a lot. I'm a big fan of visualization. However, there's going to have to be some action in there in order for you to reach your goal. You're actually going to have to figure out how to allow urges and feel your feelings. And there's got to be situations where you don't drink, even though you want to. So those are going to be, so that's the distinction there between this work and The Secret, for example. Okay, I want to give you some more examples. I'm going to give you a circumstance of my sister pouring a glass of wine. Okay, I can have a thought of, I don't want to give up. I don't want to miss out. And that creates a feeling of deprivation for me. And the actions that I take when I'm feeling deprived are, for example, giving into the urge. I don't like to feel deprived. Nobody does. So I give into the urge and I tell myself I'm going to try again tomorrow. Lots of tomorrowing. Go down that rabbit hole a lot, I'm sure. And the result that I create from giving into the urge, giving into the idea that I'm going to start again tomorrow, is that I miss out on the opportunity to unwind the habit. Whereas in the beginning, my thought was, I don't want to miss out on the wine. I'm actually missing out on the opportunity to get closer to my goal. Now, stick with me here, because this is everything. The circumstance of my sister pouring that glass of wine does not make me feel deprived. It is that thought that I don't want to miss out that makes me feel deprived. So let's look at some other options. I could also, same circumstance, she can pour a glass of wine, and I could have the thought, I don't want to miss out, is a thought. Okay, that's a little bit of a hack. And when I have that thought, then I feel more curious. And from that feeling of curiosity, I can remain open to what I learn. Okay, I don't end up, I allow the urge, I remain open. And my result is I become the watcher to my thoughts and I'm not whipped around by the urge. You see that? Okay, yet a third model that we can create here. And again, there are an infinite number of models, but I can also have the thought, I'm happy that my sister noticed that I bought the wine that she likes. And in that case, I feel recognized, for example. From that sort of emotion, I'm not concerned about drinking. I'm going to go ahead and make my mocktail. I'm going to be present with my family and enjoy the time without drinking any wine. Do you see how I've mapped out these three different options here off of that same circumstance? And again, there's an infinite number of ways that could play out. What's important to recognize is that whenever we're feeling any sort of suffering, then we can go back and analyze it, figure out how we're thinking and how that's creating the result that we don't like. Okay? It's so important to do this, to write this out. Because if you want to create a profound change in your life, it's so critical to be able to see how what we're thinking is driving the results we're getting. I really recommend that you make a practice of creating these models for yourself. Start creating some awareness for yourself. You can become more in touch with what you can control and what you can't. I definitely recommend that you start with a prompt of what's the current problem that I'm having right now? Maybe I'm yelling at my kids. Maybe I can't stop drinking at night, or I'm angry at XYZ. It doesn't matter what it is. Go ahead and start writing it out. Fill out those 5 levels of the model and figure out what is exactly going on for you. What do you want to change? Because it's never about the circumstance. The circumstance doesn't make you feel anything. It's always about your thought, and that is 100% within your control. And this is honestly the best news ever. So I've included some practice worksheets to get you started. Don't do this in your head. If anything else, do not do this in your head. Write it out, put it down on paper, and you're going to start to see some changes in your life. So good luck.